Welcome back, YouTube. It's been long enough, hasn't it? I took, a substantial break just because of my workload. I have, obviously a lot of work going on, school, all at the same time. It can be very, very difficult, but um, I'm back, at least for now. I'm not going to say that I'm going to take a huge month break like I did. I'm also not going to say that I'm going to be daily posting. Days I work will definitely be difficult to post, but I'll hop on here as much as I can, get you guys my basketball opinions because I know you guys care so much. So a few weeks ago, I saw a comment from Patricia Hopkins saying, "Can you make a video on the real contenders?" And that's a great video idea. I mean, there's a few teams. To me, there's 5 teams that are legit, real title contenders. 2 teams that are deep run contenders that aren't necessarily in that conversation. 7 teams that are like second round exits. 8 teams that are playoff hopefuls, like on the brink, and then not at all. There's like the bottom 8 teams. So we're going to dive on into that. But before I get into my list, I want to remind you guys to leave a subscribe and a like on the video just to let me know you rocking with me being back. But first off, let's get into the not at all list. The teams that just we know tanking for Cade, tanking for Yvonne Mobley. We aren't here to watch them play basketball anymore. They're out. They're legit out. Starting at number 1, the Timberwolves. Obvious. They never. It's disappointing because they did have a lot of potential this year with D'Lo. Anthony Edwards is having a Rookie of the Year type season. Maybe with LaMelo Ball being out, he can take that. Karl-Anthony Towns, obviously, but they need to feed Karl-Anthony Towns a lot more than they did this year. He just never really touched the ball. Not at least as much as they should have. D'Lo and him could never be on the court together. It seems like they just never one of them was always hurt. Injuries were a big problem, and they need to find a power forward, desperately need a power forward. The Rockets, they're completely tanking. They're going for draft picks. They're supposed to trade Oladipo this week. They had a 20-game losing streak, so that just tells you that. The Detroit Pistons, seems like they're giant slayers. Maybe they would do well in the playoffs since they just beat good teams only, but they suck. They have no good players whatsoever anymore. And, they traded Blake. Did they? No, they just cut Blake Griffin. So, they're not that good. They're tanking. They're letting their young guys play it out. That's how it should be for them. The Orlando Magic, sad to say, but they've had a lot of injuries this year. Jonathan Isaac never started the season. Markelle Fultz was a full season injury. Aaron Gordon is looking to be traded. Vucevic is still a baller, but he didn't really have a lot of help. The Washington Wizards, again, another disappointing team. I'm a huge Russell Westbrook fan. Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook tried their heart out. Russell Westbrook is really just finding his stride. Maybe this team could squeak their way into the playoffs. Maybe. But this team is definitely not at all a title contender. The Cleveland Cavaliers, super hot start to the season. We were saying Sexland, Colin Sexton, Darius Garland, and it just kind of disappeared. We don't talk about that anymore. Drummond on his way out. Kevin Love might be on his way out. So I don't think the Cavs are title contenders whatsoever. The Oklahoma City Thunder, even though they're a little bit more up in the standings, you can make a case for them being playoff hopefuls. I don't see it happening just because I see them, especially towards this trade deadline, going for more picks because that's what Sam Presti does. They're not really a legit team. They're having a great streak, but this team isn't for real. And then the Sacramento Kings, just an abysmal season. Marvin Bagley is not what he wanted. We wanted him to be coming out of the draft. I was high on Marvin Bagley. I love that guy. De'Aaron Fox and Tyrese Halliburton is an awesome backcourt, but in terms of the rest of that team, they got to get it figured out. Playoff hopefuls. These are teams that are either, trying to squeak their way in, basically just a tiny tier above not at all. The Toronto Raptors. Even though their record says that they should be in the tier below, this is a team that I know can go in the playoffs and even maybe win a first round. The Charlotte Hornets, with the loss of LaMelo Ball, that is a huge loss. But with how they played this year, even without LaMelo Ball, this is definitely a playoff hopeful, a team that maybe could squeak their way in if they hit their stride. The New Orleans Pelicans, there's too much talent on that team not for me to say that they are not playoff hopefuls. Zion, all-star. Brandon Ingram is almost an all-star. These are really quality players. If they make a move at the deadline, I'd like to see them trade Ball because they're not using him correctly. If they can get some good value out of him, we'll see what they do with that. And if this team drops in the list or maybe goes up, Memphis Grizzlies, John Morant is a winning player. I mean, when he's on the court, he doesn't fill up the stat sheet, but he just finds a way to pull out wins. Without Jaren Jackson this year, with a few injuries, really, this team is still pulling it together. I'm happy with this team. They are right there on the brink of the playoffs. The Pacers, another team right there on the brink of the playoffs that should be in, I think, when it's all said and done, with Malcolm Brogdon, Domantas Sabonis. Miles Turner's having a Defensive Player of the Year type year. T.J. Warren's been out. But this is a team that should overall make it. T.J. McConnell's been balling out lately with triple-doubles. The San Antonio Spurs, DeJounte Murray's one of my favorite players to watch. Keldon Johnson. These guys are ballers. I want to see what they do with LaMarcus Aldridge. He's supposed to be on his way out. But this team is just, maybe going to squeak its way in the playoffs, maybe not. Same thing with Chicago. Zach LaVine has been a baller, all-star. They got to figure it out with Lauri Markkanen, Wendell Carter, what they're going to do with those two guys. But Patrick Williams having a solid rookie year. Thaddeus Young is one of the most valuable role players in the league, I think. So this team has a chance with Zach LaVine, Thad Young, Kobe White. And then the Mavericks, with Luka and Kristaps, they need to find their stride together on the court. Luka's really just hitting his efficiency stride. He just shot 9 for 9 from 3 from the other day. That's an exaggeration, but he really did that. But the Mavericks definitely can make it and honestly give some teams some trouble in the first round. Maybe get out of there, maybe get to the second round. In terms of second round exits, that kind of team, that's not good. That's not bad enough to just get knocked out in the first round. But I can't really see making a deep run. Golden State. When you have Steph Curry, you're going to be able to pull some stuff off, some miracle stuff. But that team on Steph Curry's back completely, I don't know if they can go that far in the playoffs. Same thing with the Portland Trailblazers. I mean, if CJ gets back fully healthy, same thing with Use, which I know CJ just balled out the other night. If that team can mesh and find their stride by the playoffs, this team definitely is moving up into a deep run category. But right now, just the way they're looking right now, they're a second-round exit for me. Denver, they struggled this season, even though Jokic is probably the MVP. Jamal Murray's struggled this year, but the team is deep. They have an overall they have a nice set of role players and an MVP candidate and a star, and that's really is a formula for winning. So these three teams really could bump up. The Knicks, I can't say that they're a first-round exit, honestly, which is ridiculous that we're even talking about the Knicks in playoffs in the same sense. But they're a good team. They're obviously not a deep-run team. Same thing with the Heat, except they're on a little bit larger scale. I think the Heat are a very, very good team. They are on a great streak right now, but I don't see them going as far as they did last year. Boston, very, very disappointing year for them. Probably has a lot to do with the COVID and the injuries and that kind of stuff. I don't think this team meshes by the playoffs, especially with Kemba and how disappointing he's been. I don't think this team picks it right back up, but they definitely have a chance to move up too. And the Hawks, this team for me was maybe a first-round exit, maybe a second round. I put them in the second round, but the Hawks have been so up and down this year. And that's what happens when you have young teams is they're really, really hot when they're hot, and they're really, really cold when they're cold. And it's an emotional roller coaster. So right now I have them as a second-round exit. I can't make them seeing a deep push. I can't see them making a deep push, rather. And then, I just had to make sure I was recording. And then for deep run teams, not real contenders, but deep run teams, I have two very controversial picks. The Utah Jazz, a lot of people honestly have them as real contenders. I mean, they've been the hottest team in basketball all year, starting to dip down a little bit, but regardless, they've been the best team in basketball all year. I just can't see this team without a legit bona fide superstar making a real title run that can knock off teams like the Lakers and the Clippers in their conference. Same thing with Phoenix. That team just doesn't have that legit, overpowered superstar to make that run. So in terms of real contenders, I have 5 for you, listing them off from least likely to win the title to most likely. At least likely, I have the Los Angeles Clippers. This is a team that to me has proved to be fraudulent, but they are way too good not to put in real title contention with Kawhi Leonard, who is a title win. That dude wins you a championship. Paul George is having a bounce-back season. We'll see how he is in the playoffs. He's a totally different man in the playoffs, a lot worse. Same thing with Lou Williams and guys like that. But I don't think this team out of the real contenders has the best chance at all. But they definitely are a team that needs to be mentioned when you're talking about making a run for the title. At number 4, I have the Philadelphia 76ers. Joel Embiid is definitely an MVP caliber player this year. Ben Simmons is an all-defensive first-teamer, undoubtedly. They have these pieces that they surrounded Embiid and Simmons. I didn't think it would work. I didn't think they could do it, but they surrounded them with shooters, and it worked. And they're playing together really, really well. So this is definitely a team I could see winning the title. It's just they're behind these next 3 teams. Honestly, it's just how the cookie crumbles. I didn't see them on that level. Third, the Milwaukee Bucks. The run that they've been having, I think they've won 13 out of the last 14, like 7 in a row. They've been phenomenal. They've been unstoppable. They've been exactly what we wanted going into the season. They had a pretty rough start to the season. Maybe this is a little bit of bias because you guys know obviously I'm a Bucks fan. I got the jerseys everywhere, the whatever this is, bobblehead. I got the hats. Maybe it's bias, but I mean they look amazing, and Giannis is doing his thing, and they're shooting around him, and Drew Holiday's they have the defense, they have everything. They're one of the highest scoring teams in the NBA. They're figuring it out, and that's scary when the Milwaukee Bucks are figuring things out. Number 2, the Brooklyn Nets. This team will outscore you on any given night. They have 3 dudes that will drop 45 on you if they feel like it, if they take over. Kevin Durant, in the playoffs, makes a case a lot of the times to be the best player in the world. The only thing is he has these games, that maybe aren't the best. Kyrie Irving sometimes looks like the best player in the world. James Harden, not so much in the playoffs. But that man, right now, probably is the best player in the world. I mean, that team is absolutely loaded. The only thing that's going to hurt him is bench depth, but when you also get to the finals, it's like 7 deep. You're not playing a ton of guys. Like the Lakers last year did not play many people. Which segues me straight into my number 1, the Los Angeles Lakers. How could you count them out? Anthony Davis and LeBron James are currently out. Very, very tough. Maybe they won't be able to mesh in time. But when you're talking about LeBron James, you're talking about Anthony Davis. And they won a title last year. And they're coming in with more depth, with more power around them. Guys like Schroeder, guys like Gasol, Kuzma's improved. Taylor Horton Tucker's been good. Off their bench, I don't see this team losing. I think this is a lock. I just can't wait to see LeBron and AD versus KD, Kyrie, and James Harden. That is what I'm looking forward to at the end of this season. The top of the league looks amazing right now, guys. If you want to let me know your lists or what I got wrong, whatever's easiest for you, drop it down in the comments. I'd like to hear you guys' stuff. I'd like to reply to you guys. Even if I don't post tomorrow, I'll definitely be replying to your guys' comments. So let me know about that. Make sure you subscribe. If you guys are interested in buying any sports cards, I got a ton of guys, a lot of rookies, a lot of Giannis cards. Guys, just it's Giannis. If you guys are interested in buying any cards, I'm definitely selling cards. You guys just, drop in my comments what player you're interested in, and we can direct message, and I'll talk to you, give you a reasonable price. So, little plug for you guys, but I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.